I used to think I needed a miracle, a dramatic breakthrough, or life reset. But what I really needed was rhythm, not a louder alarm clock, not a better planner, just 10 small things I had stopped doing. I thought I had fallen because I was weak, but in truth I had drifted. I stopped sharpening my mind. I stopped listening to myself. I stopped choosing who I was becoming each day. No one tells you how easy it is for a strong man to erode, not collapse, not explode, just fade through quiet neglect of the things that once anchored him. The fire goes dim, not with a storm, but with silence. And before you know it, you're showing up for everyone except yourself. That's why I made this video, not to inspire you, not to fix you, but to remind you your life doesn't need more noise. It needs precision, intention, small habits that realign you without anyone noticing. Until one day they do. These 10 habits won't look impressive. They won't trend on social media, but they'll restore something inside you that the world forgot to protect, your inner command. If you've ever looked at yourself and thought, I used to be sharper, I used to be clearer, I used to feel like me, this is your way back. Not by force, but by repetition, by reclaiming mastery through the mundane. If that hits home, type "I'm taking it back" in the comments. Not for likes, but for the next man who feels like he's slipping and needs to know someone came back from it. Let this be the first act of your return. Habit 1 starts now. Habits 1. Read to arm the mind. You don't read to pass time. You read to prepare, because a distracted mind is a vulnerable one, and this world rewards the focused, not the frantic. Most people scroll, skim, or absorbe noise. But you open a book like a soldier, unsheathing his weapon, because you understand the mind is the first battlefield, and reading is the forge. There will be days when your motivation fails, when your emotions rebel, when stress, people, or pressure come at you sideways. And in those moments, you don't rise because you feel good. You rise because your thinking is armed. You've trained for the war before it arrived. Marcus Aurelius once said, "To live a good life, we have the potential for it. If we can learn to be indifferent to what makes no difference." And that's what reading gives you: discernment. Not just knowledge, but clarity. It sharpens your filter. You stop reacting to every spark because you've fed your mind with fireproof thoughts. But here's the truth most men ignore. You don't need to read for hours. You just need to feed your mind with purpose. 10 minutes a day. Something dense, something ancient, something real. Choose what challenges you. Read people who are in the arena, not just those who talk about it. Read Epictetus, Sun Tzu, Carnegie, Pressfield. Don't consume, absorb. Let it sit with you. Let it reshape your inner language. Because over time, the man who reads with purpose starts to think with precision. He becomes harder to shake, harder to confuse. And when chaos hits, he doesn't wreak the recalls. Not what he memorized, but what he internalized. Stoic creed: I read not to escape, but to engage. Not to finish pages, but to sharpen perception. Each page is a repeat paragraph, a blade. I arm my mind daily, because when the storm comes, I don't want to reach for clarity. I want to already have it. Habits 2. Write to reclaim order. Your mind is not a storage unit. It's a battlefield. And when you carry everything inside every frustration, unfinished thought, every fear you didn't name it becomes chaos. Loud, restless, and unfiltered. That's why you write, not to be poetic, not to impress. You write to build clarity where confusion once ruled. You write to take back control from the noise. It doesn't have to be elegant. It doesn't have to be long, but it does have to be honest, because the page doesn't lie to you, and it doesn't let you lie to yourself. Most men bottle things up. They try to hold the flood back, but writing gives you a dam, a place to release, redirect, and reshape what you feel into something useful. Writing turns reaction into reflection, and reflection into resilience. Seneca once wrote, "By delaying action, we squander the time of life." And that's what happens when you let mental clutter pile up. You become indecisive. You start spinning in circles. You misfire emotionally. But when you journal consistently, quietly, you begin to sharpen your own lens. You don't just see problems, you define them. And once defined, they lose their power to control you. Some mornings, your thoughts will come out, broken, dark, or small. Let them. That's the point. Let it be ugly. Let it be raw. Let it come out, so it no longer owns you. Then watch how your breathing changes. Your focus shifts. Your inner world realigns, because journaling is not therapy, it's leadership. And if you can lead yourself through your own internal mess, there's not much the outside world can throw at you that will shake your command. Over time, you'll look back at what you wrote not to relive pain, but to measure growth. Each page is proof that your mind didn't spiral, it strategized. That your pain didn't consume you, it taught you. That your chaos didn't win, you outwrote it. Stoic creed: I write not to feel better, but to fight better. I do not chase clarity, I create it. In the silence of the page, I sort the noise of my mind, and in doing so, I reclaim the only order that matters, the one within. Oh, what's the one thing on your mind lately you haven't written down but should? Drop it below, even in just 3 words. Habit 3. Define your target daily. Most people wake up and drift. They check messages, scroll, react, and by the time the day ends, they've been busy but directionless. Motion without meaning. Energy without aim. That's not how a Stoic moves. That's not how a man in command operates. Because a man without a target is not free. He's lost. And the simplest way to take back your power is this: define your aim before the world distracts you from it. Each morning is an unmarked battlefield. Before emails hit, before opinions flood in, before life pulls you in 10 directions, pause. Ask yourself one clear question: what matters most today? Not 5 things. One thing that, if accomplished, makes the day meaningful. One strike that matters. Because when your target is defined, your distractions lose their grip. You stop chasing noise. You move with intent. Seneca said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." That means even good energy, even momentum, is wasted if it pushes you in the wrong direction. The target isn't a to-do list, it's an anchor. It keeps you from drifting. It sharpens your decision. And more than that, it protects your self-respect. Because at the end of the day, you're not just exhausted, you're fulfilled. You didn't do everything. You did the right thing. And this habit, it's not about ambition, it's about alignment. Even if your life feels messy, even if the goals are still far off, this single act makes you a man who decides, who aims, who acts. The kind of man people can count on, because he can count on himself, day by day. This clarity compounds. You start noticing how many people wander. You stop being one of them. And eventually, you stop asking for permission to matter because your actions already do. Stoic creed: I do not drift. Either fine. I choose what matters before the world tells me what to chase. One aim, one mission, one day. And when I hit my target, I don't celebrate, I reload. Habits 4. Move the body. Anchor the will. You're not just training your body, you're testing your will. Every drop of sweat, every repetition, every time you show up when it's cold. Quiet. And no one's watching. That's not just fitness. That's self-respect in motion. Because when the body is trained, the mind follows. When you push through resistance in the gym, you become someone who pushes through in life. Movement is more than health. It's proof. Proof that you can overcome friction. That discomfort doesn't control you. That you don't need to feel like doing something to do it anyway. And in a world that glorifies ease, every time you choose effort, you reclaim something sacred. The edge most men have surrendered. You weren't built for convenience. You were built for challenge. And the Stoics knew this. Epictetus once wrote, "The trials you endure introduce you to your strength, not your muscles. Your character, you can't think your way to toughness. You build it by showing up, by finishing what hurts, by making your word heavier than your excuses. And the beauty is it doesn't take hours. You don't need perfect gear or a personal trainer. You just need movement that demands presence. Push-ups, a walk before sunrise, stretching while the world is still asleep. What matters isn't how intense it's, how consistent. Because the man who trains daily, however, small starts to look at hardship differently. He doesn't complain. He competes. He doesn't fear resistance. He welcomes it as familiar terrain. Over time, your posture changes, not just physically, but spiritually. You walk with more weight because you carry discipline inside your frame. You begin to act like a man who trusts himself, because when your body becomes a place of commitment, your decisions become an extension of that strength. Stoic creed: I move not for image, but for command. Every rep is a promise kept. Every drop of sweat is proof. I do not break easily. My body is not a template, a training ground. And every day I move it. I anchor who I am. Habits 5. Rest with purpose, not escape. Rest is not weakness. It's strategy, but only if it's earned and intentional. Because there's a difference between recovery and retreat. One makes you sharper, the other makes you softer. And most men today don't rest. They numb. They scroll. They binge. They check out under the illusion of taking a break. But they return no better. Just more disconnected, more fatigued, more behind. You don't need more hours in the day. You need better recovery within the ones you already have. You need rest that recalibrates your direction, not one that detours it. Rest that refuels your vision, not one that blurs it. Rest that you schedule, not rest you collapse into when your body finally gives out from the chaos you never learned to control. Seneca once wrote, "The mind must be given relaxation. It will rise improved and sharper after a good break." That's the kind of rest a Stoic seeks, not escape, but return, not laziness. But l'ouvrage, when done right. Rest isn't the opposite of discipline, it's the foundation of it. Because clarity needs stillness. And stillness doesn't mean doing nothing, it means doing less of what scatters you, and more of what restores you. So what does that look like? It looks like stepping away from the noise without guilt. A walk alone, without headphones. A quiet hour at night with your thoughts and no screens. Sleep not as indulgence, but as preparation. It's saying no to the dopamine drip of distraction, and yes to the inner silence where real direction forms. Most people don't know how tired they are because they've never experienced true recovery. But once you do, once you feel what real rest feels, like you stop tolerating anything less. You stop wearing exhaustion like a badge, and you start showing up with presence, precision, and poise that others can feel. Stoic creed. I don't rest to avoid life, I rest to own it. I recover like a warrior on purpose, with boundaries, without apology. My stillness is not surrender, it's preparation. And the quieter I become, the more clearly I return. Len, what does real rest look like for you? Share your answer. It might help another man reset the way he sees rest. Habit 6. Practice gratitude as a weapon against entitlement. Gratitude isn't just a feel-good sentiment, it's a weapon, a shield against the disease of entitlement, a daily act of war against the part of you that always wants more. Complain l'idée, and forgets how far you've come. Because when you lose your sense of appreciation, you lose your grounding. You stop seeing what you have and fixate on what you lack. And in that fixation, you start believing you deserve more than you've earned. The man who walks through life thinking the world owes him something is the easiest to break. He's offended by everything, crushed by setbacks, enraged when others succeed. But the man who trains his eyes to see what is already good, he becomes unshakable. Why? Because gratitude reframes the battlefield. It turns pressure into perspective. It makes ordinary moments sacred. It makes hardship survivable. It roots you back into reality where discipline thrives and entitlement dies. Epictetus never said, "Be thankful when things go well." He said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." In other words, lack isn't about your bank account, it's about your mindset. It's about forgetting that what you have today, you once begged for, and what you take for granted now, someone else is still praying to receive. So how do you fight back? Simple. Daily. Quietly. You write down 3 things you're grateful for every morning, not because it's trendy, but because it recalibrates your lens. You pause in the chaos of a hard day and whisper, "Thank you," not because life is easy, but because you've survived worse. You train your brain to notice the unnoticed, the sunrise you didn't earn, the second chance you didn't deserve, the strength that grew from seasons you didn't think you'd make it through. This habit may seem small, but make no mistake, it transforms you. You begin to speak less like a victim and more like a steward. You stop resenting what others have and start honoring what you hold. And over time, You build a life not based on what you demand, but on what you recognize. Cherish and protect. Stoic creed: I don't count what I lack, I count what I've been given. Gratitude is not weakness, it is wisdom. I don't expect ease. I honor existence, and I remind myself daily, the more I notice, the less I need. Habits 7. Give without losing yourself. Giving is noble, but only when it's rooted in strength, not guilt. Most men confuse kindness with compliance. They give until they're drained. They say yes when their soul whispers no. They carry everyone's burdens and leave themselves empty. And then they wonder why no one sees them, why they feel invisible, why resentment simmers just beneath their surface. But the Stoic man knows generosity means nothing if it costs you your command. Because the highest form of giving is not martyrdom, it's overflow. It's giving from a place of conviction, not compulsion. Real giving does not diminish you. It clarifies you. It reveals what you value and what you're willing to stand for. But it also demands that you define where you end and where others begin. Senetzarot. Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. But kindness is not servitude. Stoic giving is measured, intentional, silent, but sharp. You give your time when it aligns with your mission. You give your energy when you've protected your own. You help others rise, but not by lying down for them, because the moment your giving becomes self-erasure, it's no longer noble. It's self-betrayal dressed up as virtue. So how do you give without losing yourself? First, get clear on your boundaries, not just to protect your time, but to protect your soul. Second, remember that no is also a gift. It may disappoint someone temporarily, but it preserves your presence for where it truly matters. Third, ask yourself, not just, can I give this, but should I? Not everything asked of you is yours to carry, and not every demand is aligned with your path. When you live like this, something shifts. Your giving becomes powerful because it's chosen, not extracted. You stop being used and start being respected. You stop chasing approval and start operating from principle, and over time, you build a life where generosity and strength walk side by side because one never cancels out the other. Stoic creed: I give from strength, not surrender. I offer help, not myself. My yes means something because I guard my no. I don't pour from emptiness, I give from overflow. And what I protect in silence, I preserve in power. Have you ever given too much to the wrong people? Say, I've learned. If you've been there, so others know they're not alone. Habits 8. Listen to understand, not to reload. Most men aren't listening. They're waiting for their turn to strike. Words fly like weapons. Pauses get filled with comebacks. And in the noise, nothing is really heard. That's the problem. In a world that rewards quick responses and louder voices, the power of true listening is disappearing. But for the Stoic, listening is not silence, it's strength under restraint. When you listen to understand, not to reload, you choose presence over ego. You suspend your need to be right. You slow down the fire of reaction and step into the deeper terrain: what's actually being said, what's not being said, and what it reveals about the speaker. Most people talk to be seen, but few ever feel understood. And the man who can give Thathis presence commands more than the loudest voice ever could. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Learn to listen, and you will benefit even from those who talk badly." He wasn't being poetic. He was being precise. When you master the discipline of listening, not just hearing, you gather intelligence. You read tone, timing, intention. You notice the story beneath the story, and that awareness, it gives you the upper hand, not to manipulate, but to move with clarity. Listening isn't submission. It's study. It's composure in real time. And it starts with restraint. You resist the urge to interrupt. You withhold judgment. You lean in, not physically, but mentally. You turn off the voice in your head that's drafting your next argument. And in doing so, you create space. Space for truth to surface, for tension to ease, for connection to take root. But the benefit isn't just for others. The real reward is what happens inside you. Your ego shrinks. Your mind sharpens. You stop reacting from emotion and start responding with wisdom. You begin to speak less, but when you do, your words carry weight. Because they're not just noise, they're forged in stillness. Stoic creed: I do not listen to attack. I listen to learn. I let others speak, not to expose them, but to understand them. My silence is not weakness. It's a watchtower, and from it, I see what the noisy always miss. Habits 9. Train your patience like a muscle. Patience isn't passive. It's power under tension. It's what separates men who collapse under pressure from those who move through storms with unshaken breath. You weren't born with it. It's not a personality trait. It's a disciplinia muscle built slowly, painfully, in moments of silence, setbacks, and stillness. Most people quit too soon. They plant seeds and curse the dirt when the sprout doesn't show. They expect overnight returns in a lifetime game. But nothing meaningful happens fast. Not healing, not mastery, not growth. And if you can't sit in the stretch between the work and the reward, you'll never earn either. Patience is about endurance, but it's also about perspective. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "No great thing is created suddenly. There must be time." The Stoics weren't telling you to wait forever. They were telling you to honor the rhythm of cause and effect, to trust the unseen grind, to show up and keep showing up, even when the outcome delays its arrival. Why? Because patience is the training ground for greatness. It's in the reps where nothing seems to change that your character is being carved. It's in the slow mornings, the frustrating calls, the rejections, the quiet years of building something no one sees. That's where patience is built. Not through waiting, but through staying. Staying consistent, staying committed, staying rooted when everything around you says, move. To train patience, you have to start where it hurts. When you're stuck in traffic, breathe deeper. When your plans fall through, don't panic pose. When your goals take longer than you expected, don't shift direction, strengthen your stance. You don't need to rush. You need to trust. Trust that each moment is refining you. That time isn't your enemy, it's your ally. If you let it sculpt you, the impatient man burns out. The patient man builds, slowly, quietly, relentlessly. Over time, he becomes untouchable because he's not chasing timelines. He's mastering himself, and when the world finally catches up to what he's been crafting in silence, it will feel sudden to everyone but him. Stoic creed: I do not demand now. I build for later. I do not flinch when the pace is slow. I use it to deepen my roots. My delay is not defeat. My pause is not weakness. I am training the rarest strength to hold the line until the breakthrough arrives. Habits 10. Curate your circle with precision. You will never rise higher than the standard set by the people closest to you. That's not philosophy. That's gravity. And most men don't fall because they lack potential. They fall because they chose comfort over challenge in their relationships. They stay loyal to familiarity, not realizing it's killing their growth, one quiet compromise at a time. You don't need a crowd. You need a core. A circle, so precise, so aligned with your values, that your ambition doesn't feel like a threat, it feels like home. A circle where silence is respected. Discipline is normalized. Growth is celebrated. And mediocrity is not entertained. Even in small talk, Marcus Aurelius warned, "Your soul takes the color of your thoughts. Guard it accordingly." But today, we forget that people are thoughts made flesh. If you're surrounded by pessimists, you'll start expecting less. If you're surrounded by chaos, your peace will become fragile. But if you place yourself among those who lead themselves well, you'll rise, even in the dark, because their standard pulls you higher. This isn't about elitism. It's about survival. Because your environment is either fueling your excellence or feeding your excuses, you must choose. Ruthlessly, with precision, with quiet, unwavering standards. Stop apologizing for outgrowing people. Stop shrinking to fit spaces you've already outgrown. Stop mistaking proximity for loyalty. Elevation requires separation. Curating your circle starts with one hard truth. Some connections were only meant for the version of you that didn't know better. Now you do. And now, you must ask, do they sharpen me or dull me? Do they expand my vision or cloud it? Do they challenge my discipline or distract me from it? And if the answer is silence, you already know. Choose better. Choose the men who show up on hard days, who speak in actions, who walk with purpose. Choose those who tell you the truth, not to hurt you, but to refine you. Build your brotherhood on principle, not pity, on depth, not drama, on mission, not noise. Stoic creed: I don't need many, I need real. I don't chase crowds, I forge circles. I don't keep company by accident, I choose. With precision, my future depends on it. And I will protect that future with every no I speak in silence. You've reached the end. That already sets you apart, not because you watched a video, but because you stayed when most people clicked away. You listened. You felt something shift. And that tells me you're not just surviving, you're searching. For structure, for strength, for something real. These 10 habits aren't flashy. They won't trend. But if you build them into your life, they'll lay down a foundation so unshakable that chaos won't break you again. That's not hype. That's transformation, quiet, disciplined, and earned. And here's the deeper truth. Right now, there are men out there walking blind through life, tired of pretending, crushed by being ignored, starving for clarity. Some of them are your friends. Some are strangers. Some are the men we used to be. So when you subscribe, when you pass this along, you're not just upgrading your own life, you're helping those men too. You're helping build something rare. a quiet brotherhood of men who don't need noise to be powerful, men who rebuild from the inside out. And before you go, drop one word in the comments: rebuild. If you're on this path, let others know they're not walking it alone.